You know, this channel is called Great Outdoors Garage, and it can be a really great channel for you to learn from. And I would love comments because if you give me comments, you can tell me what my next video should be. Also, if you like and subscribe, then you can see what that next video is going to be, and you'll get a notification for it when it comes out on YouTube, which it will if you actually like and subscribe and comment. Let's talk about timing marks, because this gets really interested on a motor like this that is a dual overhead cam. Um, and these are a little bit more complex to time than your old traditional engines like your old Chevys, like what I'm used to. But as long as you follow a few rules, you'll be just fine. First thing is to look up where the timing marks are on these, because without looking it up, a lot of times you almost don't know. And I did look it up and then, of course, was able to find them, but they're pretty subtle. So I want to talk about this. The first thing we notice down here, I don't know if you can see down there. I can on camera, so it should be good. That's the keyway there on the crank. It's pointing straight up. That's what we want. We want that pointing straight up. That's our first step. Then we go and we look at our marks on our camshaft, and it's very hard to see. Somebody took a highlighter and marked this one. The timing mark's down there. Now, what's a little bit easier to see is if you look up there, you can see where somebody's took a marker and marked the timing mark on the cylinder head. So what I'm looking at here, is this engine out of time? No, it's not. This is actually perfectly timed. Here's the thing. Every twice that crankshaft rotates around is one rotation for these camshafts. It's pretty much always a 2-to-1 ratio. And so what I'm looking at right now is I'm what one would refer to as 180 degrees out, which is no big deal. All I need to do is take that crankshaft down there, turn it a full turn. This mark should come up and line up with that mark on that cylinder head. And then this one, this cylinder head, since it's on the front and easier to see, nobody highlighted it, but I can just see the dot down there. And if you look real close here on camera, you can just see a little mark there on the cylinder head. So that's what you're looking for. But every manufacturer is different when you're dealing with these overhead cam engines, and you just kind of have to look through them and figure them out. I've seen some that have some pretty strangely complex timing setups. So just be aware whenever you're working on an overhead cam motor. Watch out for your timing marks. Well, it's always good when you can come in and check on stuff like this. I look at my mark, and it looks like it's lined up with the mark on the engine there. If anything, I'm tipped just a little bit forward. When I come up here to my camshafts, I look, the mark's back here, and the mark on the head is a little bit forward of that. Also, if I look at the one he highlighted back here, well, you can't see anything that way. If I look at the one that he highlighted back here, it's a little bit back, and then that one's a little bit forward. So I'm going to say this engine lost a little bit of time. It happens when these belts wear and everything, but that just tells me we're on the right track and we probably need to put a new timing belt in it. Okay, so here's my first couple of checks I want to make when I go into a situation like this. We pulled the timing belt out and we checked on our tensioners. This tensioner here rotates over real smooth. It's got no play in it. Feels like it's in great shape. This one down here, however, likes to wobble. So I think I'm probably going to be replacing that tensioner. The other thing is, this is our real major issue. This is why we were here, right? The water pump leaks like crazy. Well, I take this water pump, and you see how it rotates a bit and then just stops like that? But it's real good and smooth. I can feel the turn to it. It turns real nice. It's not jiggling around on there. So it's absolutely leaking water down here. That much we know for certain. But I'm not sure that water pump's bad. As we can kind of tell already, this isn't this van's first rodeo with a time belt. And so I think maybe somebody else has been in here. Well, I know somebody else has been in here with the chalk markings and everything back here. It's obvious. But I'm looking at this and I'm starting to think maybe whoever installed this water pump maybe didn't install it correctly, and so the water pump itself might be fine. It might just be the gasket below it that's bad. So it's kind of one of those things you look at. You have to have your eyes open for a job that's not been done properly. So When I check the bearings on this water pump, I can feel the bearings roll over real nice. It's real smooth, which is exactly what you want. I guarantee you the new water pump will feel just like that to rotate. But then we start looking at this down here. We look at this weep hole. This is designed to leak. Now, why would we design it to leak? Well, if I flip the water pump over here and we start looking at the business end of the pump, and yes, I know this one's a little bit rusty. That's because it was run with straight water in it, which is okay in the circumstance because this one was leaking really badly. There is a seal underneath here. And what that seal does is it prevents the water on this side of the pump from getting into the bearings on this side of the pump. Now, those bearings are going to have grease in them, some type of lubricant. And what will happen with almost any type of grease or anything you put in, when water gets to it, it will wash that grease out of those bearings. And then those bearings will immediately start failing afterwards. So what this weep hole is letting you know is that this seal, for whatever reason under this impeller here, that seal has failed. And so what that means is water is going and trailing back into these bearings now, and these bearings are going to fail soon, which means your water pump is going to seize up and you're going to have a catastrophic failure. Now, a lot of times this weep hole, what I like to see is for these bearings to wear out that are in here and this to be flopping around a bit, and then that'll cause that seal to go bad, and then that weep hole will start weeping. That's the way a normal water pump should fail. In this case, this water pump's cheap, and so they put a really cheap seal in there, and that seal just blew out before the bearings even went bad. Okay, this is going to be my first YouTube unboxing video. This may be my first and maybe my last, but we'll see. So this is our new parts. For the van we've been working on. And this should be our timing kit. Get that all out of the way. Here we go. That's what we want to see right there. We've got our nice little refrigerator magnet down here. And there it is. And we've got our Dayco timing belt and water pump kit. This is I'm sure a great kit. It's made by Dayco. That's the key. So as at this point of filming of this video, my YouTube channel is still brand new. I have no sponsors, okay? This is not a paid sponsorship. I use Dayco because the Dayco stuff works and it stays working. I've used a lot of other brands, quote unquote leading brands. I can't say their names and had them fail immediately. But I've always had excellent luck out of Dayco. So let's see what they sent us today. It's a little bit different packaging than what I'm used to, but it's a little bit different part than I'm used to ordering. It's very hard to do this one-handed. Just hold the phone like that. There we go. So got the sleeve off there, and then let's see what we've got inside. So we've got, looks like a pretty detailed set of instructions. That's cool. They've printed it for a 20-year-old or maybe even a 19-year-old, because you have to be pretty young to read writing that small, if you all out there know what I mean. And then here we've got our goods. Here's that one idler I was talking about that was a little bit bad. And I can already feel through the plastic. This one doesn't wobble around like the other one did. So that'll be a direct replacement for that. We've got our brand new timing belt that should say Dayco right on it. And there it is. There's the Dayco logo. Sorry, upside down. But there you go. There's Dayco. It's a brand new timing belt. We've got our other idler, which actually the one I had was good, but if we're going to dig in this far, we might as well go ahead and replace that. Then we've got instructions for the water pump, and we've got another water pump. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this one won't be weeping like our last one was. And so this is all in good shape, ready to go. And then this over here, let's see what we've got here. This should be our hydraulic actuator, which I like that they have this in the kit to replace as well, because I have some kind of oil leak out there on that van, and I'm feeling like this could be the area where it's leaking. And I'm noticing it looks like we've got a couple of little seals in here too, probably. Or that's just an empty bag. Okay, that's interesting. So hopefully there wasn't anything we needed in there, because it ain't in there anymore. But yeah, there you go. There's a good set of Dayco parts. Should get this thing back up and running no problem, although I got to check into why that one bag is empty. That's a little bit of an issue. But there you go. Okay, so here's where we get down to cleaning. We're looking pretty good here, but I can see, some corrosion buildup here. I can see right where the gasket was sitting right here, and I can feel build up and gum up on both sides of it. You really don't have to do a lot of surface prep on these modern O-ring style gaskets. But in this case, I want to go through and just lightly rub that down with some sandpaper. Be sure I've got good clean aluminum all the way around so that this water pump will actually seal up correctly. Okay, you may be able to see that we cleaned up the gasket area. I didn't do a lot, just a little bit on this. With these modern O-ring seals, you don't really have to go crazy on them. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any lumps of crud that might be a little bit too close to that seal and kind of, pinch it and make it not seal. This is the kind of job you don't want to do twice. So, just scuffed it up a little bit. One thing I would say to anybody with aluminum like this, like you're working on one of the old cast iron engines, cleaning a gasket off, you can just go to town. You're not really going to damage that cast iron unless you do something really stupid like taking an angle grinder to it or something like that. With an aluminum engine like this and you're cleaning the gasket area, be very, very genteel about it. Just take just enough off. Don't dig in. Don't use any real aggressive, tools like when you're scraping off gaskets and stuff, because you can gouge into this aluminum really, really easy. And then you have a real bad situation, because then your water pump's not going to seal no matter what you do. And you end up looking into a situation like, well, do I get another engine block or what? So, our new belt tensioner. Maybe it's me and I've watched too many movies, but it kind of feels like a hand grenade. You pull the pin and then throw it and it blows up, and there are hand grenades that kind of look like that too. Thought I would show this tool real quick. And a lot of people know what this is. This is a torque wrench, but this isn't a normal torque wrench. This is an inch-pound torque wrench as opposed to a foot-pound torque wrench. And yes, there's inch-pounds and foot-pounds. So that's one of the big precautions I would tell people. Be careful sometimes you're working on a car. Sometimes they'll report torque specs in inch-pounds instead of foot-pounds. And so you either have to have the smaller wrench or do the conversion over to foot-pounds. Great thing is that conversion's not hard. It's the same thing as feet to inches. So if I take a foot-pound number and multiply it by 12, that gives me inch-pounds. Conversely, if I have an inch-pound number and divide it by 12, that gets me back to foot-pounds. Yes, we got into math. Sorry. That being said, these are extremely handy because a lot of foot-pound torque wrenches will start at about 25 foot-pounds. I've seen some that start at 30, and I think I may have seen one that started at 50 one time, which is complete crap if you ask me. Well, 300 inch-pounds, which is this torque wrench's maximum, is equal to 25 foot-pounds. So it's good to have you a big torque wrench that's foot-pounds that starts at 25 foot-pounds, and it's really handy to have one of these smaller torque wrenches that gives you inch-pounds. And then sometimes you even need one that's finer than this, like if you're setting the pinion load on a differential, then you need a really fine torque wrench that only goes up to about 100 inch-pounds. And I mean, that's getting really, really finite. But it's good to have one of these. A lot of people don't. They'll just kind of guess the inch-pound torque spec. And you can get by going by feel pretty well that way, but I don't like doing that. I like doing this. I just torque this down to the spec that it's supposed to be on that water pump, which is a little over 100 inch-pounds. And I know that squished that seal down to the factory specification and what the factory engineers wanted. So in theory, I should be able to put water in this engine right now and not leak a drop. We'll see if my theory holds. New water pump is in. And this is right down here, this spot I can't ever seem to get filmed on camera. There we go. That's where the water would trail down. The weep hole's right under here. You can't see it. but it's right into there, and that's where it run right down there, and you can see it trailing down there. Now, I've filled this thing full. I've spun the water pump by hand, which, yeah, I know isn't really fast enough to move any water, but it kind of can move some bubbles around in there. And there's an old trick you can do where you take the radiator hoses and squeeze them, and it'll actually kind of burp your system. I don't want to do it too much. I filled this one a little too full to really burp it good, but you can kind of squeeze the hose and get a few bubbles to come out. But if we notice, I put water in it, and there's still water in it. Now, it's only been a few minutes, but it's looking good. Oh, by the way, like my water cup for a battery? Okay, here's my technique to ensure I have correct timing on this. What I've done is I've come in here, and you can barely see it on camera. You can barely see it in real life. I took a Sharpie and I just marked this whole tooth black all the way back, because that's the tooth with my timing mark on it. And then I still can't really see that mark real well in the cylinder head, but it's a slot like a screwdriver head. So I can see there the screwdriver just slid into that slot, and that tooth is pointing right at that screwdriver. So we're good. Now on the back cam, it's a little bit cramped back here, so I had to use a stubby screwdriver, but still the same thing. I can stick it in that slot and line it up, and I can tell that my cams are actually in the right place. And we have our first problem. The hole in this is a lot bigger than the hole in the original one. This is the one that was on there, and this is this one. Thing is, if I put the bolt down in this one, it flops all over the place, and it's not going to work. I need to have this smaller hole. So it's a good thing I've got a shop press, because I can probably press that bushing out of this one and press it into this one and be good to go. If that don't work, I'll just swap the pulleys out and use the old tensioner assembly, which will be just fine. This is basically just a static assembly anyways. Boy, that was a tough video, wasn't it? It looks like I'm really in a pickle there. Will I get out of it? Well, you know what? If you want to see that, you need to like, comment, and subscribe, because that's how you're going to see the next video and get a notification for it.